Hello everyone, welcome again. In the last video, I covered all the things. I had covered all the things which is related to vulva because my topic for the presentation is not the female external is not female reproductive female reproductive portion. So I'm not going to give detailed concept of all these things. I'm just overviewing all the things that is female external genitalia, that is vulva and vagina. So I had covered all the things that is which is included inside the vulva, that is clitoris, labia majora, labia minora, and the urethral opening and vaginal opening. All these topics was covered inside the last video, and in this video I am giving you the further concept, that is below the labia minora. You can even say below the vulva and above the anus, there is a layer that is known as perineum. Here you can see perineum. Perineum is basically a stretchy fold that covers the area between vulva and the anus, and it is a stretchy fold. There are stretchy linings. What is the function of perineum actually? During the childbirth or during delivery, these perineum during this time. That's why the delivery become very easy for a female. So perineum is very important. And here you can see another structure, that is forechete, or even you can say it forecheet. It depends upon the pronunciation. It is a thin fold of skin actually. What is basically the forecheet? Here you can see that labia minora, which covering the clitoris. When labia minora splitting two times. So when it covers clitoris from the above, then it form a clitoral hood. Clitoral hood mainly prevent the clitoris from any desiccation, from any degradation, you can say, during sexual violence or any type of injury. So there is a clitoral hood, there is a shaft, even you can say, because as you can see that in the male there is a glans skin or even foreskin over the penis to protect them. Same likewise in the female, over the clitoris there is a structure that is known clitoral hood, and this clitoral hood is made by the splitting of labia minora. When splitting of labia minora covering the clitoris from the below side, then there is a presence of another structure, that is frenulum. And when these labia minora meets at the end, or you can say at the lower portion of the labia majora, in the ending of the labia minora, then you can see that above the anus there is a structure which is known as forecheet. It is a thin fold of skin. So basically, it is a part of labia minora which meets at the end of the labia majora. So this is the part of vulva, and here you can also see that some structures are homologous to male reproductive system. Like if I talk about that skin gland or Bartholin's gland. So skin glands are basically equals to the, or even you can say homologous to the prostate gland of a male. And if Bartholin glands, if I talk about a Bartholin gland, then Bartholin gland is homologous structure to the Cooper's gland of a male. Cooper's gland and prostate gland, these are glands which occur in the male reproductive system, and Bartholin's gland and skin glands are homologous to this structure, means they have the same origin, but the function of these things are different. Bartholin glands, what is the function of this Bartholin gland? Actually, Bartholin glands help in the lubrication of the vulva. That's why if there is a fluid accumulation, if there is any obstruction in the opening of these Bartholin glands, then the fluid gets accumulated in these glands and it leads to the Bartholin cyst, which is the disease of vulva. So it is important that the lubrication continuing removing out from the vulva. Now the next is, you can see that pH maintenance is very important for the vulva, and here you can see that pH for the vulva is 3.4 to 4.7. And in the last video I told you that vulvar tissue structure and vaginal tissue structure is also very important, because these are the things which help in maintaining the permeability or non-permeability in the in these tissue, and permeability and non-permeability get decide that vaginal infection or vulval infection will be severe or not. So it is very important parameter to study that vulva tissue structure and vaginal tissue structure. Both tissue structures are made up of different type of tissues. If I talk about vulvar tissue structure, here you can see this is vulvar tissue structure. So it is basically made up of keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. I hope you all will be familiar with this tissue structure, that what is keratinized and what are stratified squamous epithelium basically. So keratinized is basically those structure which help in the protection. So keratinized creates a permeability barrier. That's why anything cannot come inside or outside from the body. So it acts as a barrier, which is a very hard barrier, and it is made up of a stratified squamous. So basically stratified, that's why it is multilayer in structure, and squamous, that is pavement epithelial like structure. So vulvar tissue structure is basically keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. So as I am talking about only the vulva here, that's why I am giving all the features related to vulva. Okay. Next is vestibule. I have not given explanations about vestibule till now. So what is vestibule actually? Vestibule is the inner space between the labia minora and the labia majora. This is the inner fold which is present between these two lips, and this space is known as vestibule. And the tissue structure of vestibule is also different than vulvar tissue structure. So basically vestibular tissue structure is that it is non-keratinized in nature. As it is non-keratinized, so it is more permeable for anything. So any infection can lead to severity inside it, because it is non-keratinized, and it gets easily infected due to this non-keratinized nature, or you can say due to permeability. And so this was all about the vulva. Now come towards the vagina. So here you can see this is vagina. Actually, it is female reproductive structure. I want to give you an explanation about only the vagina. So here you can see this is cervix and this is vagina. Vagina is this is cervix and this is vagina. So vagina is basically a fibromuscular canal. It is made up of fibrous tissue, or which different type of muscle. Basically, smooth muscles are involved here. Smooth muscles are those muscles which are pointed from the end, and there is this is uninucleate structure, because we all know that muscles are made up of different kind of muscles are muscular tissues are made up of different type of muscle cells, like smooth muscle cells and straightened muscle cells, you can say, or different type of cells, muscle cells are involved there. So these smooth muscles are when gets contracted or relaxed, then it leads to the function of vagina. And it is a fibromuscular canal, and so by combining with the cervix, it leads to the formation of a birth canal from which a baby can deliver. So next thing is that our vagina mostly time lubricates actually. But the thing to remember is that vagina not have any glands. Vagina doesn't have any glands. It is a glandular lining. So the mucosa which is secreted from the vagina is basically transudate, which comes from the vaginal walls. So vaginal walls are secretory in nature. They secrete their secretion inside the vagina, which is known as a transudate. There is no gland inside the vagina. So because there is no gland, so there is no vaginal secretion. But due to cervix mucosa or vaginal mucosa, vagina totally remains lubricated. Again, the tissue of vagina is made up of non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, and as it is also non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, that's why we can say that it is also permeable and it have more chances to get infected. Okay, so this was all about the vulva and vagina. As I told you about the pH of vulva, same in the vagina, that vaginal pH depends upon the situation, that we are dealing with the pre-menarche condition, during the reproductive age stage, or after menopause. So it depends upon the situation. So pre-menarche, the vaginal pH is a 7, that is a little bit alkaline in nature, or even you can say that it is neutral. And at the time of reproductive ages, that is from puberty till the end of puberty, or you can say till the starting of menopause, the vaginal pH is 3.8 to 4.4. And at the time of menopause, if we are not dealing with any hormonal replacement therapy, that is not giving female any estrogen, that's then at that moment the vaginal pH is 6.5 to 7. And with hormone replacement therapy, vagina become little bit acidic, that's why it is that's why the pH of vagina becomes 4.5 to 5. So it is a little bit acidic now. So this is all about the vaginal pH, and it is very important to know that vaginal pH, that the maintenance of vaginal pH is very very important. That's why actually this is a whole topic of my presentation, that why we are going to maintain the pH of our vagina, and why it is important. Because many females, what they do, they do different things with their vagina, which leads to the alkalinity of the vagina, and it leads to the harmness of their vagina. That's why their vagina gets infected with a different type of diseases. So it is very important for us to maintain the pH of the vagina. So it was all about this slide, that how we can that what is a part of our vulva, what is basically the vagina. Both vagina and vulva are different. Vagina include what, and vulva include what, which tissue which tissue is important for the formation of vulva and for the vagina, what are the lips, and what is the species present between them, what are the glands and what are their functions. So it was all about things. Again, remember this thing, that hymen is not a pure indicator of virginity. So here you can see that all these things are covered in this slide. In the next video, I am going to tell you about the next point, that how can we maintain our vaginal hygiene condition. Okay, thank you.